So welcome today. Today we're going to review SQream, the GPU accelerated data warehouse, and how it can be used to allow people to gain insights they're unable to gain today. So what we'd like to do on today's session is give you an introduction to SQream, how SQream looks at the data analytics scalability problem, what is SQream DB, and how it works with IBM and the benefits it gets with the Power9, and then some case studies, and then any questions you may have. So first, a little introduction to SQream. SQream was founded in 2010, spent the first 6 years in the middle of that, got a Series A funding, but developing a database from the ground up, purposely built for analytics. In 2016, at the end, Exadata announced the product to the marketplace. We have signed up numerous early adopters across multiple continents. And towards the end of 2017, Ali Cloud was looking for a database that they could offer on their platform in China to keep out the Amazons, the Snowflakes, and other analytic people from the cloud there. They selected SQream after an extensive analysis, and it's now on the Ali marketplace and offered in China as the Ali solution. And Alibaba led a large round of investment into SQream, and we have doubled in size and established our headquarters here at the World Trade Center in New York, and our R&D is in Tel Aviv. We've got numerous patents supporting our technology, and the reason is we made some bets. The bet SQream made was that GPU technology would outpace advances in CPU technology, and from the 2010 timeframe, that has been true. Also, that the data collection and availability would just explode, and people would need to analyze a lot more data, and that certainly has happened. So when we look at it, we say there's massive amounts of data, but current databases are not built to handle that. So in the classic relational zone, we look at things like Oracle, SQL Server, DB2, great systems of records, and does a great job in those transactional processing systems. The companies who could afford the MPPs like the Teradatas, the Tisa Exadata, Greenplum, invested 7+ digits in them. Many of them write still today very large checks to those vendors, but they're finding that the ability to expand is not cost effective anymore, and they're also finding that it's a bit inflexible. The internet revolution happened, and everybody went into the in-memory zone, and that's where you need to support thousands of users, the browser's refreshing, and get that done in milliseconds. And in-memory computing to go wide and handle that certainly powered that revolution. However, in order to analyze things internally, there's a much, much larger amount of data, and that's that massive data zone, and Hive is proving to be much slower than the MPPs, and people are starting to limit the amount of dimensions they'll analyze as well as time periods of data. And we don't think that's the way to go. We see that there's a lot of SQL talent in the market. There's a lot of really good BI analytic tools, but as they increase the complexity to derive insights, the queries take way too long. The other thing we're seeing is that with all this data collected, people are limiting themselves to the amount of data they can do in those in-memory solutions, and typically maybe analyzing a year's worth of data when they'd like to analyze 10 years worth of data. Analyzing only one dimension of data when they actually would like to analyze 3 dimensions of data. These are the insights that we would like to bring people to, because otherwise what's going to happen, the data collection rates are going to continue to increase, and companies will be forced to just be analyzing an ever-decreasing percentage of their data. So we want to turn that symbol here around and let them increase the percentage of the data that they're analyzing to get better insights, and insights they can't get now, as well as better accuracy. So what is the paradigm shift that SQream did? Well, we do not have an in-memory database, and that's key. We developed a database that communicates vertically to the storage. And as Flash has become more resilient, 5.9's uptime, and has a lot of enterprise features, we were able to conceptually take these multi-million-dollar massive parallel processing environments and appliances and condense them down to an NVIDIA card, and then be able to string these NVIDIA Tesla series GPUs within servers and within servers in a cluster in order to create multiple MPPs going at the data. And that is how we are able to allow companies to analyze significantly more data with many more dimensions, do it up to 100 times faster, although we just did a POC, we're at 180% faster. And then typically at 10% of the resources having to do with footprint and administration and power consumption. So what is SQreamDB? It is, as I mentioned, something to complement your existing data stores for analytics. It is a relational database or column store built from the ground up using that massively parallel concepts in order to be able to scale from terabytes to petabytes in your analysis without having to add compute nodes to do that by decoupling compute and storage. We chose familiar ANSI SQL to capitalize on the massive amount of corporate talent out there, and then standard connectors into the technology stack. We also made it extensible to the machine learning and AI community through a Python connector to take things and exchange data with Jupyter Notebooks, TensorFlow, Power AI, all of the data science tools out there so that they can go against a large warehouse and say, give me everything I need at once to validate or invalidate my model, not going and getting little pieces of data sets and then get told, well, that one you can't have because it's in a silo. So when we say minimal footprint, we actually have a customer doing a genomic research. It's cancer drug discovery on a petabyte of data with one server. It's 4 bioinformaticians going against storage that's about 250 terabytes because we are the only GPU database that compresses all the time. And that minimizes the I/O to about 20-25% of what others need to do to communicate to the data. And then in addition to accessing for query speed, we can ingest data at approximately 3 terabytes per hour GPU. So we have an initial load, and then we can continually insert new data and delete old data if that's someone's objectives. So real quick, the secret sauce takes in the raw data without indices. You go ahead and based on the schema, we build a map or a metadata catalog of where we're going to place the data. We break it into chunks. We utilize the most appropriate compression routine for that data type and that chunk size. We then place that on the flash. When the query comes in, we're then able to go exactly where we want, employ all the data skipping routines, bring up that data to the GPU in parallel. It's compressed. We decompress on the GPU, which is like a free operation. It goes so fast. And then the SQL plan has been turned into relational algebra, and we execute that really fast on the GPU and deliver back the result set to the requester, which could be a BI tool, could be a program, a command line interface, whatever the SQL tool of choice is. Now, what that means is you can just ingest your data without having to perform any structuring. If you take structured data, you can put it in. Maybe you're bringing data in and you're doing a complex ETL, doing aggregations, indexing, cubing, all the things to make access to those reports go quicker, but you have to do all this pre-processing. So we look at 2 types of users. There is the user who walks in and says, yeah, that's my report. I take a look at it. I go about my day. But there is a group of people. They might be your best analysts, your senior lines of business managers, your executives, who, if given the chance to go interactively against the raw data, within minutes of that being available, should be able to come up with better insights and new insights for your organization. So being a database, it should just integrate with your stack. We run on a wide variety of platforms. We're going to show you the benefit of the IBM system. But in your stack, you have data sources that go into SQream, and you have data visualization tools and BI tools that go into SQream to fetch that data. These are the same tools that people are using today, and the same languages on the bottom that people are using today in order to interact with SQreamDB. So the decoupling allows the independent scaling of workload and data. So if you remember, I highlighted the example of the genomic research, and it was one machine going against a petabyte of data. If they want to go to 2 petabytes, they will just add something here in the storage blade, another 250 terabytes to handle that petabyte that comes in, compressed. If they're working with the one server and they want to add another team of bioinformaticians, well, then they can add into the cluster like this and direct that to the storage and be able to then scale workload and concurrency independently of scaling data volume. Provides a much more simpler and flexible software management approach. It also sets things up for the hybrid cloud deployment where maybe that BI tool is making a query and some of the data is existing, let's say on an AC922 and some in the IBM private cloud, and then combines that transparently to the user at the viewpoint. So scaling up or scaling out is what we can do. And certainly if you think about taking the room full of racks and servers that people do today for Hadoop or those MPPs and condensing it to one single rack, that's certainly more space and power efficient. So querying data directly is bring on the joins, we say. And the reason we say that is that's how you're going to provide more dimensionality to get the better accuracy and insights and enhance your business intelligence. Don't only analyze 5 quarters worth of credit card transaction data. Do 10 years worth of data. Don't only analyze, we have a customer that was analyzing only inventory data, but now they're going to do sales and inventory data and go from 1 year to 5 years at a fraction of the performance. And I'll show you that in a second. So the advantages that we're gaining with the IBM Power9 come from 3 areas. One is the CPU to GPU communication. And although I mentioned we are not an in-memory database, we are performing like 90% of our operations on the GPU. There are things we use the CPU for, the metadata catalog, the workload balancer, some external tables, and the communication with that is significantly faster than working in the x86 environment for us. The other thing we have seen, and we've done some TCP Edge benchmarks on Power9 versus the x86, and we've seen the queries go up to almost 4 times faster in a comparable environment than the x86 architecture. And then the other thing we've seen, although we were getting really good loading speeds before, we were able to go almost twice as fast in loading for data with the Power9 system. So we're seeing significant performance advantages. And now I'm going to give you a look at some of the things that we've done in the marketplace. Now, you'll see a few different industries here. There is a commonality between them. Although the column names are different, they're all typically, it's structured data, it's star or snowflake schemas, it's big fact tables, big dimensional tables, maybe multiples of these, and they need to do lots of joins in order to come up with their SQL analytics. And so based on what I told you before, you could see and understand how we could power that structure, that data structure, to bring results into a variety of different industries. So along those lines, AIS is the telco of Thailand. They're about the size of a T-Mobile, and they were using Greenplum. And in utilizing Greenplum, we saw that we could take those 40 nodes and we take the 6 terabytes, and it took 1 machine and 2 GPUs in order to dramatically reduce ingest and reporting time as well as cost of ownership. And now they've signed up with SQream to go to 60 terabytes, in which case we're going to add a storage and maybe 1 to 2 more nodes in order to handle that capability. They will get little to no degradation in performance. If you're trying to equate numbers from the Power9, you can just take an almost 2x on the ingest and an almost 4x on the reporting or query side of things. And whether it comes from Hadoop environment, this is a company on the West Coast, competes with Google, and if they can deliver a better return for a piece of inventory from a publisher for real-time bidding or programmatic advertising, on a digital basis, well, then they get more business from that publisher, they increased their revenues. So they were doing 85 terabytes a day, utilizing Phoenix SQL and utilizing Apache HBase, and it was taking them 5 hours to get through that. We showed them how with the GPUs, we can take the queries down to 5 minutes and then take them to the area they want to go to, which was to take 360 terabytes, ingest that overnight, and then have it be available for the same 5-minute queries. We added a few more nodes and more GPUs into a shared storage device to accomplish that. This company was using Exadata. This is C&S Wholesale Grocers up in New England. They're the 10th largest private company in the US. They had a query that was on inventory data, about 20 terabytes. Takes them 30 minutes to do that query. They're really looking to get closer to near real time. They have a lot of robots that are packing pallets and delivering to the grocery stores and chains out there. And if they felt that they could get closer to that and then combine some sales data with the inventory to get multiple dimensions, they would be able to do better. And so we took them down to 30 seconds with Tableau, and now we're going to take them up to 100 terabytes, basically 1 year to 5 years worth of data. So these are consistently the results that we're bringing across a variety of industries, and we're getting some good feedback from the clients. We have developed a proof of value because some people say, well, that sounds really good, maybe even too good to be true. And we'll say, let us show you. Let us show you what you can do. So we have a proof of value plan. It's a couple, you do some planning on your side, and then in about 3 days on site, we can go ahead and execute this and show you the benefits, build out your business case with you, and then you can proceed forward and enjoy the benefits that we mentioned earlier. So how do you identify if there's an opportunity to really bring something that's needle moving to your company with SQream? So one of the things is, what are you doing now for your SQL analytics use cases? I mean, we're finding, I'm sure that the people who are using Tableau, and out of the word tab slow, it's not tab slow, it's the database, and they're probably wanting to analyze more dimensions and analyzing more time periods, but they're told no, because the database is not supporting that. So which one of the MPPs or Inmemory or Hadoop solutions are they using, and which visualization tool? Because there's a very good chance they could speed that up, add dimensions, and add time frames. We like to ask, how much are you performing that analytics on now? Because like I said, there's that 5 quarter to 10 years. There was a bank that I was in who I suggested, rather than looking at the last year, they should look at a full banking cycle of 14 years. I was told I was wrong. They should actually look at 28 years, 2 full banking cycles, to get a better view and prediction into things going forward. So that's a lot of data. SQream can handle that data. SQream can process all that data and actually keep your amount or percentage that you're analyzing consistent with the growth of your data lake, and give you much faster response times in that area where the others are likely going to time out. So dimensions and volume, and then I talk about how many users. So this sounds great. The one thing is, this is not for thousands and thousands of external users. These are for your, your anywhere from 10 to 60 to 100 concurrent users inside your company to make better decisions for your company. So if there's any questions, now would be a good time to take them.